Hi, everybody. I'd like to begin by giving a special thanks and honor to my dean, Dr. Joanne Rowe, as well as Professor Dada and all the other conference organizers, including Ms. Raquel Bennett. Also, want to give a special thanks to my good friend and colleague, Professor Greg Mayers, and his co-panelists for inviting me to give a brief talk on a problem with Black entrepreneurship. And the problem is that when we look throughout the United States, throughout Africa, and throughout the Caribbean, what the data show is that blacks have both the lowest and the highest rates of entrepreneurship compared to all or most other racial or ethnic groups. How in the world can blacks have both the highest and the lowest? Well, with your indulgence, I'll begin with the bad and end with the good. So, in terms of having the lowest rates, in the United States, only 4% of blacks own businesses. Compared to other racial and ethnic groups, that number right there actually approaches 12 and goes on up to 20%. Blacks own only 2.6 million businesses. If they were on par with other groups, that number would be closer to 9 million. But out of these 2.6 million businesses, only 130,000 of them have at least one employee, which means that 95% of these businesses right here do not have a single employee. And their average yearly revenues are only $72,000. In Brooklyn, New York City, out of 300,000 businesses, only 63,000 were registered by black owners. And out of those 63,000, only 2,000 of them had at least one employee. And what this is showing is that in our backyard, the lion's share of black business owners are single person, small firms. When we look throughout New York City and the five boroughs, in spite of blacks comprising 20% of the population, they own only 3.5% of the businesses there. Now, in terms of the highest rates, blacks are extremely, they score high on entrepreneurial interests and activities. Blacks initiate new businesses nearly 3 times more than whites. Black women are extremely entrepreneurial and actively engaged, launching businesses at 6 times the national average. Blacks are more likely to start a business than whites and Asian, and so forth. Even black youth are more interested in launching a business. And these are all stats from national research endeavors, as well as a lot of global databases. So, but in spite of all of this high interest and activity, blacks remain underrepresented in entrepreneurship, and their businesses experience less success on various success metrics than others. Now, the literature gives lots of reasons why, and as many of you know, undercapitalization is a major reason, but there are other factors as well. One factor that we don't hear much about is the informal economy, which is the opposite of the formal economy. The informal economy, also called unregistered economy, underground economy, black market, that's where business transactions are not recorded, not taxed, not licensed, nor regulated. Some research shows that blacks are more likely to operate businesses in the informal economy compared to other groups, and this contributes to them being under captured in formal entrepreneurship, which means that 3.5% and that 4% is actually an understated statistic. Research literature also shows that blacks businesses that operate in the informal economy, they stay small. They're typically run by one person. They do not attract investment or debt funding, and they're most often born solely out of economic necessity. Now, there are many downsides to operating in the informal economy. We mentioned some. They're less likely to attract formal debt or equity financing. And the reason why is businesses that operate in the formal economy are an actual legal entity. So they're a thing, a noun, whereas businesses that operate in the informal economy are a verb, an action. It's something a business does, and therefore it cannot attract investment or debt financing unless it converts over. Also, the amount of tax revenues collected by city, state, and federal entities are lessened when businesses operate in the informal economy, as well as licensing, permits, and other fees that are collected. And then just to mention one last one, businesses that operate in the informal economy, that growth is stifled. So unless they convert over, they cannot later become a household name. There are many others. When we also look to the literature, management, business, entrepreneurship literature, what we find is that there are 4 areas that offer promise in helping black entrepreneurs to improve some of these metrics that we've presented. One is teaching them that their choice of which type of business to launch really matters in terms of the business future success. Another one is how blacks configure their social networks. Many times, the way that many blacks configure their social networks actually runs counter to successful entrepreneurship. Another one is financial literacy, especially understanding financial markets for entrepreneurship. And then the fourth area is understanding the hidden consequences of doing business in the informal economy. So we've taken all of that and put it together, and then we've come up with the Entrepreneurship Education and Workforce Development Program. And the aim of that program is to guide more students to launch a business along with a team of co-founders as opposed to as a solo founder. More businesses to launch high-tech and or life sciences, new products and services. More businesses to launch operating fully in the formal economy. And more businesses to launch that are likely to be a candidate to secure and gain corporate debt and or equity financing. The education program content consists of helping students to formalize or register their business, helping them to set up pro forma financial statements such as income, balance sheet, cash flow, and a few others, how to capture and leverage intellectual property in terms of patents, trademarks, trade secrets, copyrights, how to approach investor financing from angels or venture capitalists, and how to have a readiness to actually attract that financing, how to develop and implement a formal marketing plan, a formal business plan, how to take advantage of certain research and science developments that are available for commercialization. CUNY owns 500 patents, more than 500 patents, and a small portion of them are currently commercialized. How to create a written founders agreement, how to choose an optimal legal form of business, whether a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a C Corp, a benefit corp, or any other option that's available to them. We do have some very specific targeted program outcomes. I won't mention them all, but there are many of these over here that we actually lead students to, and many of them are doing well and going on to the next level, launching their businesses and so forth. And so in terms of instructor track record, I'm one of many people on our campus that are actually connecting with entrepreneurs and help take them to the next level. However, in terms of me specifically, I've taught and mentored more than 10,000 students at 5 different HBCUs. I work with thousands of community entrepreneurs and military personnel at small business administration, small business development center. I've also consulted thousands of black business owners through a private consulting firm, run several businesses, generating multi-million-dollar yearly revenues. During the dissertation phase, read more than 20,000 scholarly publications and books on black entrepreneurship. The number of students I've actually taught, MBA, executive MBA, bachelor students, they actually rank the teaching really high and they like the entrepreneurship development. This is education credentials. And then in terms of the relevant work experience, it consists of military, corporate, federal government, and entrepreneurship. At this time, I'd like to real briefly breeze through 59 businesses that were launched at Medgar Evers College during the fall 2020 by students. And again, I'm going to breeze real quickly through this, but this is just to give you an idea of the work that many of us here on campus have been doing and the impact. And so these students came together during the fall semester. Many of them did not know each other, but they formalized around a new business idea and they actually launched businesses. And so this is just one example of the outcome. And again, this work is the result of a very broad coalition of a lot of people, primarily at MEC and some off campus, that actually helped to weigh in. So I just kind of wanted to show you all that. And again, that's what you're looking at is the broad coalition. So that ends my presentation. So I thank you all very much. And at this point, I'd like to turn the floor over to Professor Greg Mayers, who will take the conversation from here. Thank you all.